The Valorian Galactic Empire had ruled the known universe for over 12,000 years. Their ships patrolled every sector. Their laws governed every inhabited world. Their name was spoken with fear and respect by hundreds of species across millions of star systems. No one had ever challenged them. No one had ever dared. The empire was eternal, unchanging, and absolute. That was before the strange ship appeared. It came out of nowhere on a quiet morning near the border world of Nexaris Prime. The patrol vessels of the Third Fleet detected it first. Their sensors picked up an energy signature that made no sense. The ship was small, barely larger than a cargo transport. Its hull was a patchwork of different metals and materials. Some parts looked ancient, other parts looked like they had been welded on just yesterday. The whole thing should not have been able to fly, let alone travel through space at faster-than-light speeds. High Admiral Zethryx stood on the command deck of his flagship and watched the strange vessel drift closer. He was a tall creature with gray skin and 4 eyes that could see in multiple spectrums of light. He had served the Empire for 300 years. He had conquered worlds. He had crushed rebellions. He had never seen anything like this ship before. "Scan it again," he ordered. "We have scanned it 12 times, Admiral," replied his sensor officer. The readings remain the same. The hull composition is unknown. The power source is unknown. The navigation system appears to be held together with some kind of adhesive tape. Adhesive tape? Yes, Admiral. The crew appears to be carbon-based bipeds. 2 arms, 2 legs. They breathe a mixture of nitrogen and oxygen. Our database has no record of their species. Admiral Zethryx felt something he had not felt in a very long time. He felt curious. The Empire knew every intelligent species in the galaxy. They had catalogued them all. They had either conquered them or destroyed them or brought them into the fold as subjects. An unknown species was impossible. "Open a communication channel," he said. "Demand identification." The message was sent. For a long moment, there was no response. Then the view screen flickered to life, and Admiral Zethryx saw the aliens for the first time. There were 4 of them on what appeared to be their command deck. They wore simple clothing in various colors. Their skin was pale and pink and brown. They had hair on their heads in different shades. Their eyes were small, with only 2 per face, and they seemed to express emotions very openly. The one in the center was a male, with short dark hair and a relaxed posture. He looked at the view screen with what appeared to be genuine friendliness. He raised one hand and moved it side to side in a gesture that meant nothing to the Admiral. "Hey there," the alien said. "We come in peace. Just exploring." Admiral Zethryx stared at him. The words had been translated by the universal language system, but they still did not make sense. The alien had been contacted by a warship of the most powerful empire in existence, and his response was casual, friendly, almost cheerful. "Identify yourself and your world of origin," Admiral Zethryx demanded. "You are in Valorian space. Failure to comply will result in your immediate destruction." The alien looked at someone off-screen. "Did you hear that, Katie? They said they would destroy us." A female voice responded from somewhere nearby. "That's not very friendly of them." "I know, right?" The alien turned back to the screen with that same relaxed smile. "Look, I'm Jake Morrison. This is my ship, the Drifter. We're from Earth. It's a little blue planet way out on the edge of the galaxy. You probably haven't heard of it. We've only been doing this whole space travel thing for about 30 years. 30 years? Admiral Zethryx could not hide his disbelief. You developed faster than light travel in 30 years? ID. Well, we had some help. Found some old alien tech floating around. Figured out how to make it work. It wasn't easy, but we got there eventually. Jake shrugged like this was not remarkable at all. "So, what's this empire you mentioned? Is that like a government? Do you guys run things around here?" Admiral Zethryx did not know how to respond. This creature spoke to him as if they were equals. As if the full military might of the Valorian Empire was not pointed directly at his tiny, broken ship. It was either incredible bravery or incredible stupidity, and the Admiral could not tell which. You will power down your engines and prepare to be boarded, he said finally. Your vessel and crew will be taken to Nexaris Prime for questioning. Any resistance will be met with lethal force, Jake nodded slowly. Okay, sure. We can do that. Do you guys have food on this Nexaris Prime? We've been eating ration packs for 2 weeks, and honestly, I would kill for a real meal right now. Behind him, another human appeared on screen. She was a woman with red hair tied back in a practical style. Her hands were covered in grease, and she was holding some kind of tool. Jake, tell them to be careful when they dock. The airlock seal is a little tricky. You have to jiggle it. Got it, Katie. Jake turned back to the Admiral. You heard her. Jiggle the airlock. Otherwise, it might not seal properly and we'll all die. That would be bad. Admiral Zethrix ended the transmission. He stood in silence for a long moment while his crew waited for orders. His 4 eyes blinked one at a time as he processed what he had just witnessed. Admiral, his second-in-command asked carefully, what are your orders? Board them. Zethrix said quietly. Bring them in for questioning, and send a message to the Imperial Council. What should the message say? Admiral Zethrix looked at the view screen, where the strange little ship drifted peacefully in the void. Its hull was patched and scarred. Its engines flickered with unstable light. It looked like it might fall apart at any moment, and yet something about it made him deeply uncomfortable. Tell them we have made first contact with an unknown species, he said. Tell them the species appears to be friendly. And tell them I do not trust them at all. The message was sent. The drifter was boarded. And the humans of Earth took their first steps into the wider galaxy without any idea of the chaos they were about to cause. Jake Morrison just hoped they had good food. The administrative station, orbiting Nexaris Prime, was enormous. It stretched for miles in every direction. A floating city of metal and glass, and advanced technology that had taken centuries to build. Millions of beings lived and worked there. Ships came and went at all hours, carrying goods and soldiers and diplomats from across the empire. And now it had 4 very confused humans sitting in an interrogation room. Jake Morrison looked around at the bare walls and the cold metal table. The chairs were uncomfortable. Designed for creatures with different bodies than his. Katie Palmer sat beside him, still trying to wipe the grease from her hands with a cloth she had brought from the ship. Ben Harris, their medic, was examining the walls with professional curiosity. Amy Lou, their communications officer, was quietly humming a song to herself. None of them seemed particularly worried. The door opened, and a Valorian entered. This one was different from the admiral they had met before. It was taller, thinner, with pale blue skin and eyes that seemed to look right through you. It wore a dark robe covered in symbols that probably meant something important. I am Imperial Interrogator Valeth, it said. You will answer my questions. Sure thing, Jake said. Happy to help. Valeth sat down across from them and placed a small device on the table. It glowed faintly, recording everything. For a long moment, the interrogator simply stared at the humans. Its eyes moved from one face to another, studying them like specimens in a laboratory. You are strange creatures, it said finally. Thanks, Katie replied. You're pretty interesting yourself. Valeth ignored her. Our scans have revealed many things about your biology. You require an excessive amount of sleep. Nearly a third of your existence is spent unconscious. This is highly inefficient, Ben nodded. Yeah. We need about 8 hours a night. Less than that, and we get cranky. Cranky, irritable, moody, hard to deal with. Valeth made a note. Your bodies are also remarkably fragile. You have no natural armor. No claws. No venom. Your senses are limited. You cannot see in the dark. You cannot hear frequencies outside a narrow range. By any logical measure, you should not have survived as a species, Jake smiled. And yet, here we are. Yes, here you are. Valeth leaned forward. Tell me about your homeworld. Amy spoke up this time. She had a gift for talking, for making people listen. It was why she handled communications on the ship. Earth is the 3rd planet from our sun. It's mostly covered in water. We have mountains and deserts and forests and cities. About 8 billion of us live there. 8 billion? Valeth's voice cracked slightly. That many? Give or take. We're pretty good at surviving. Your planet must be enormous. Not really. It's actually kind of small. We just squeeze in. Valeth was quiet for a moment. Tell me about your history. Katie took over. She loved history. Well, we've been around for about 300,000 years as a species. We've had a lot of ups and downs. Wars, plagues, natural disasters. We almost went extinct a few times. There were these things called ice ages that covered the planet in frozen water. Most species died. We figured out how to make fire and wear animal skins, and we got through it. You survived planetary freezing by wearing animal skins? And fire. Fire really helped. We also had a few mass extinctions, Ben added helpfully. Giant rocks from space hit the planet. Volcanoes exploded. Climate changed. About 90% of all life died once. But humans weren't around for that one. Valeth looked like it was developing a headache. And your more recent history? Oh, we've had plenty of wars, Amy said. 2 really big ones about 100 years ago. We call them world wars because pretty much everyone got involved. Millions of people died. We invented some really terrible weapons. But we got through it, Jake said. We always do. There was also that thing where we accidentally poked a hole in our atmosphere, Katie mentioned. And the time we almost blew ourselves up with nuclear weapons. And all those plagues, and we had this thing called the Cold War, where 2 groups of humans pointed enough weapons at each other to destroy the planet several times over. But nobody actually fired because we all knew it would kill everyone. Valeth set down its recording device. You pointed weapons capable of destroying your world at yourselves? Yeah. Why? Jake shrugged. Politics. The interrogation continued for several hours. The more the humans talked, the more disturbed Valeth became. These creatures were impossible. They had survived everything their planet and their own stupidity had thrown at them. They had crawled up from nothing, fought their way through disaster after disaster, and somehow emerged on the other side with the ability to travel between stars. And they seemed completely unaware of how remarkable that was. During a break in questioning, Ben asked if he could use the bathroom. The guard showed him to a small room down the hall and waited outside. Ben went in, did what he needed to do, and then realized he had no idea how to operate the alien facilities. He pressed a few buttons. Water sprayed everywhere. Some kind of cleaning solution covered him from head to toe. He stumbled out of the bathroom, soaking wet and covered in foam, directly into a passing group of officials. Sorry, he said, wiping soap from his eyes. Your bathroom is confusing. The officials stared at him in horror and hurried away. Ben looked around for his guard, but the guard had been called away to deal with another matter. He was alone in a hallway he did not recognize. Being a practical man, he decided to simply find his own way back. He walked for about 20 minutes. He passed through doors that opened automatically at his approach. He wandered through sections that required security clearance he did not have, but the doors opened anyway because the security system did not recognize his species and defaulted to allowing access. He found a cafeteria and got something to eat. It was purple and tasted like chicken. He found an observation deck and watched ships come and go for a while. He found a room full of computers and accidentally triggered a minor system reset by leaning on a console. By the time security finally located him, Ben had wandered through 3 restricted areas, eaten food meant for diplomatic guests, and caused 2 separate alerts. He was sitting in a garden area, feeding small alien creatures that looked like birds but had 6 wings. There you are, the guard said, breathing heavily. You were supposed to stay in the bathroom. I got lost, Ben explained. Nice station you have here. The food is good. Back in the interrogation room, Valeth received a report about the security breach. It read the details slowly, then looked at the remaining humans with new eyes. Your crewmate, it said carefully, just walked through our most secure areas without authorization. Jake looked confused. Ben? He probably just got lost. He does that sometimes. He accessed restricted systems. Was anything labeled? Because Ben doesn't read alien languages. Valeth stood up slowly. This interrogation is over. You will remain here while I make my report. It left the room quickly, its robes flowing behind it. Amy looked at the others. Did we do something wrong? Jake thought about it. I don't think so. We were just being honest. Katie nodded. Maybe they're not used to that. They waited patiently for someone to come back. None of them realized that their simple, honest answers had just terrified an empire that had never encountered anything like them before. News traveled fast in the Valorian Empire. Within hours of the interrogation, reports about the mysterious humans had spread to every corner of the station. Within days, those reports had reached 100 other worlds. Within a week, the entire empire was talking about the strange creatures from the unknown planet called Earth, and with each retelling, the stories grew stranger. On the military world of Krath, soldiers whispered that the humans had some kind of mental powers. They said one of them had smiled at an interrogator, and the interrogator had felt genuine fear. They said the humans could not be intimidated because they did not understand the concept of surrender. On the trading hub of Venthis, merchants spoke of the human ship with amazement. They said it was held together with primitive tools and impossible engineering. They said the humans had taken technology from 6 different civilizations and made it work together in ways that should not have been possible. They called the ship a monster made of scraps. On the holy world of Sereth, priests debated what the humans might mean. Some said they were a sign that the universe was changing. Others said they were demons in disguise. A few suggested that perhaps they were simply what they appeared to be. A young species taking its first steps into the stars. These reasonable voices were mostly ignored. The rumors grew worse. Someone claimed that one of the humans had escaped from a locked cell by dislocating his own limbs and squeezing through a ventilation shaft. This was not true. Ben had simply walked out because no one was watching him. Someone else claimed that the humans had resisted the Empire's most advanced mind-reading technology. This was also not true. The mind-reading technology had worked perfectly. The problem was that human minds were so chaotic, so full of random thoughts and memories and feelings, that the readers could not make sense of any of it. A third rumor suggested that the humans had already conquered dozens of worlds in their home region of space and were simply pretending to be peaceful explorers. This was completely false. Earth had not conquered anyone. Humans were too busy arguing with each other to start conquering aliens. But the Empire did not know any of this. All they knew was that an unknown species had appeared out of nowhere, and everything about them was wrong. Grand Emperor Malachar called an emergency meeting of the Imperial Council. The council chamber was the largest room in the Imperial Palace, a massive hall of black stone and golden light that could hold thousands. Today it held only the most important figures in the Empire. Admirals and generals, scientists and diplomats, priests and spies. They gathered in a circle around the Emperor's throne and waited for him to speak. Malachar was old, even by Valorian standards. He had ruled for 2,000 years. His gray skin had faded to almost white. His 4 eyes were clouded with age, but still sharp with intelligence. He had seen empires rise and fall. He had crushed rebellions that lasted centuries. Nothing had ever surprised him. Until now. Tell me about these humans, he said. Admiral Zethric stepped forward. He was the one who had first encountered the strange ship, and he had been studying the humans ever since. They are primitive, Your Majesty, he began. Their technology is basic. Their ship is barely functional. Their weapons are crude, and yet they concern you. Yes, Your Majesty. They concern me greatly. Why? Zethric hesitated. He had served the Emperor for 300 years. He had never struggled to explain a military threat before. But this was different. They do not follow logic, he said finally. When we captured them, they did not resist. When we threatened them, they were not afraid. When we interrogated them, they answered every question with complete honesty. They told us about their history, their culture, their wars. They told us about the weapons they created to destroy each other. They told us about the disasters that nearly wiped them out. They told us everything. That seems cooperative. It is, Your Majesty. Too cooperative. Every other species we have encountered has tried to hide something. They have secrets. They have strategies. They have plans. The humans have none of this. They simply told us the truth, as if they had nothing to fear from us at all. Imperial Interrogator Valith spoke next. I spent many hours questioning them. Your Majesty, I used every technique I know. I searched their minds with our most advanced technology. I found no deception. They genuinely believe they are on a peaceful exploration mission. They genuinely want to be friends. Then what is the problem? Valith's blue skin seemed to pale. The problem, Your Majesty, is what I saw in their history. These creatures have survived everything. Ice ages, plagues, wars that killed millions of their own kind. They have poisoned their own air and water. They have built weapons capable of destroying their entire world. They have suffered disasters that would have ended any other species. And they are still here. They are still growing. They are still spreading. The council chamber was silent. There are 8 billion of them on their homeworld alone, Valith continued. They breed quickly. They adapt quickly. They learn quickly. In 30 years, they went from primitive chemical rockets to faster-than-light travel. They did this by taking pieces of technology they found and figuring out how to use it. No training, no education. They simply looked at it and understood. Chief Scientist Lorith stepped forward with a data tablet. I have analyzed their biology, Your Majesty. They are remarkably adaptable. They can survive in almost any environment with minimal protection. They can eat almost anything organic for sustenance. They heal from injuries that would kill most species. And their brains are unusually flexible, capable of learning new skills and languages at an accelerated rate. You make them sound impressive, the Emperor said. I make them sound dangerous, Your Majesty. A species this adaptable, this resilient, this unpredictable, could become a serious threat to the Empire if given time to develop. Then we destroy them. That may not be wise. Admiral Zethrix raised his hand. They have already transmitted their location back to their homeworld. If we destroy them, their people will know. And if what we have learned is true, humans do not respond well to threats against their own kind. They may come looking for revenge. Let them come. We will crush them. Your Majesty, with respect, I am not certain we can. Not easily. Not without great cost. These creatures survived by being impossible to kill. Every time something tried to destroy them, they found a way to survive. I do not wish to test whether they can do the same against us. The council debated for hours. Generals argued for immediate military action. Diplomats counseled patience. Scientists warned of unknown variables. Priests spoke of ancient prophecies that might, or might not, apply. In the end, Grand Emperor Malachar raised his hand for silence. We will watch them, he decided. We will study them. We will learn everything we can about these humans before we decide what to do with them. And we will be very, very careful. Far away, in a comfortable holding cell on the station orbiting Nexaris Prime, Jake Morrison was teaching 3 Valorian guards how to play poker. He had already won 17 credits and a small metal badge that one of the guards used to wear on his uniform. He had no idea that the most powerful empire in the galaxy was afraid of him. He was just happy to have someone to play cards with. 3 weeks passed on the station orbiting Nexaris Prime. The humans remained in their comfortable holding cells, which had stopped feeling like cells after the first few days. The guards had become friendly. The food had improved. Someone had even brought them books to read, though none of them could understand the alien writing. Katie Palmer had asked for access to the station's engineering section. She was bored, and boredom made her restless. To everyone's surprise, the request was granted. The Valorians wanted to see what she would do. She fixed 17 different machines in her first week. The station's chief engineer watched her work with growing amazement. Katie did not understand Valorian technology. She had never seen anything like it before, but she looked at broken machines the same way she looked at puzzles. She poked at them. She tested them. She figured out what was wrong, and then she fixed it, using whatever tools and parts she could find. "How do you do this?" the chief engineer asked her one day. "You have no training in our systems." Katie shrugged. "Machines are machines. They all work on the same basic principles. Energy goes in, something happens, results come out. If it's not working, something is blocking the energy or breaking the process. You just have to find out what. But our technology is centuries more advanced than yours." Advanced doesn't mean complicated. Sometimes advanced stuff is actually simpler because you've had more time to make it efficient. Your power converters, for example. They're beautiful, clean design, easy to understand once you look at them for a while. The chief engineer did not know what to say. He had spent his entire life studying Valorian technology. This human had understood it in a matter of days. Meanwhile, Amy Lou had become something of a celebrity among the junior officers on the station. She spent her evenings in the common areas, telling stories about Earth. She told them about ancient myths and legends. She told them about heroes who fought monsters and gods who walked among mortals. She told them about wars and love and betrayal and sacrifice. The Valorians had stories too. But their stories were about order and obedience and the glory of the Empire. Amy's stories were different. They were messy and emotional and full of characters who made terrible decisions for understandable reasons. The junior officers found them fascinating. "Tell us another one," they would ask, gathering around her like children at bedtime. Amy smiled and told them about a wooden horse and a city that burned. Ben Harris spent his time in the medical bay. The Valorian doctors had initially wanted to study him, but he had turned the tables on them. He asked questions about their biology, their medicine, their treatments. He shared information about human medicine in return. Before long, they were working together, comparing notes, learning from each other. "Your bodies are remarkable," one doctor told him. "You heal so quickly. Your immune system is incredibly aggressive." "We had to develop good immune systems," Ben explained. "Earth is full of things that want to kill us. Bacteria, viruses, parasites. We're constantly fighting off infections. How do you survive?" "We evolved, adapted. The ones who couldn't fight off disease died. The ones who could passed on their genes. It took millions of years, but we got pretty good at it." The doctor was quiet for a moment. "That is a brutal way to develop." "Yeah," Ben agreed, "but it worked." Jake Morrison spent most of his time wandering the station, talking to anyone who would talk to him. He was naturally curious, naturally friendly. He asked questions about everything. He learned the names of the guards who watched him. He learned about their families, their hopes, their dreams. He treated them like people, not enemies. This confused the Valorians more than anything else. Grand Emperor Malachar received daily reports about the humans. Each report made him more uncertain about what to do. These creatures were not threats in the traditional sense. They had no armies. They had no plans for conquest. They simply existed. And their existence was slowly changing everything around them. "They are making friends," Admiral Zethrix reported. "Everywhere they go, they make connections. Our own people are starting to like them. That is dangerous." "Yes, Your Majesty. But I do not know how to stop it. They are not doing anything wrong. They are just being themselves." The Emperor decided to meet the humans himself. A formal dinner was arranged. The 4 humans were cleaned up and brought to the Imperial Palace. They were given new clothes, though they complained that the alien fashion was uncomfortable. They were briefed on proper protocol, though they forgot most of it immediately. The dinner was held in a great hall, lit by floating crystals. The Emperor sat at the head of a long table. His advisors sat along both sides. The humans were placed at the far end, as far from the Emperor as possible while still being in the same room. Jake tried the food and made a face. "This is interesting." "Be polite," Amy whispered. "I'm being polite," I said. "Interesting, not bad." The Emperor watched them with ancient eyes. "I am told you have been helpful during your stay." "We try," Jake said. Katie fixed some stuff. Amy told some stories. Ben helped in the medical bay. We didn't have much else to do. You could have tried to escape. Jake looked genuinely confused. Why would we do that? We're guests, aren't we? You're feeding us, giving us a place to sleep. It would be rude to run away. The Emperor did not understand this logic. Every other species in his empire would have tried to escape. Every other species would have seen captivity as something to resist. These humans accepted it as hospitality. Tell me about your weapons, the Emperor said suddenly. I am told you have developed some very powerful ones, Amy answered before anyone could stop her. Oh, you mean nuclear weapons? Yeah. We figured those out about 80 years ago. Split the atom, release a huge amount of energy, destroy everything for miles around. We used them twice in a war against each other. Then we spent the next few decades building thousands more and pointing them at each other. The table fell completely silent. You used weapons capable of destroying cities, the Emperor said slowly. On yourselves? Twice, yeah. Well, we tested them a lot more than that, over 2,000 times, just to see what would happen and how to make them better. You tested them? Sure. In deserts and oceans and underground. We wanted to understand them. Knowledge is power. Right? The Emperor looked at his advisors. Their faces showed the same shock he felt. This species had invented weapons of mass destruction, and then detonated them repeatedly on their own world, just to learn more about them. They were not a rational species. They were not a predictable species. They were something else entirely. And you still survived, the Emperor said. Jake nodded cheerfully. We're still here. 8 billion of us and counting. We're pretty hard to get rid of. That night, Grand Emperor Malachar made his decision. He called his advisors together in his private chamber. We will not attack the humans, he said. We will not conquer them. We will not provoke them in any way. Your Majesty, a species that survives everything. That adapts to everything. That tests nuclear weapons on itself for curiosity, is not a species we want as an enemy. We will contain them. Watch them, study them from a distance, and we will pray that they never decide to become hostile. And if they do, the Emperor was silent for a long moment. Then may the stars help us all. The day the humans were released from the station, the entire empire breathed a sigh of relief. Not because they were happy to see the humans go, but because keeping them had become exhausting. In 6 months of captivity that never felt like captivity, the 4 crew members of the Drifter had changed everything they touched. Katie had improved the efficiency of the station's power grid by 12%. Amy had started a storytelling tradition that junior officers continued even after she left. Ben had developed 3 new medical treatments by combining human and Valorian knowledge. Jake had won over 700 credits in poker games and become friends with half the guards on the station. They were escorted to their ship with full honors. Admiral Zethrix himself came to see them off. He stood at the airlock and watched them prepare for departure with an expression that mixed relief with something that might have been respect. The Empire has decided to establish formal relations with your species, he said. A non-aggression treaty will be signed. Your people and ours will not make war on each other. Jake looked surprised. War? We weren't planning any war. We just wanted to explore. Yes, we know. That is precisely why we are offering this treaty. I don't understand. Admiral Zethrix was quiet for a moment. He had spent 6 months studying these humans. He had watched them adapt, learn, and thrive in an alien environment. He had seen them make friends out of enemies and turn captivity into opportunity. He still did not fully understand them, but he had learned enough to be cautious. Your species is dangerous, he said finally. Not because you are hostile, but because you are unpredictable. You do not behave the way other species behave. You do not think the way other species think. You survive things that should kill you and thrive in situations that should destroy you. The Empire has decided that it is better to have you as distant friends than as close enemies. Jake thought about this for a moment, then shrugged. Works for me. Can we still come back and visit? The food really grew on me. Zethrix almost smiled. Almost. You may return as ambassadors when formal relations are established. Until then, stay in your own region of space. Got it. Stay home until invited back. Very reasonable. The drifter departed an hour later. Its patched hull and flickering engines carried it away from the station, away from Nexaris Prime, and back toward the small corner of the galaxy where humanity made its home. The Valorian Empire watched it go with sensors that could track a ship across light years. They kept watching long after the strange vessel disappeared into the darkness between stars. A new section was added to every star chart in the Empire. It marked the region of space where humans lived. The warning was simple. Unpredictable species, do not engage. Other species noticed the warning. They asked questions. They heard stories about the humans and their impossible survival, their strange adaptability, their casual relationship with weapons of mass destruction. Most decided to follow the Empire's example and keep their distance. A few were curious enough to make contact anyway. The first alien traders arrived at Earth 6 months after the drifter returned home. They were a small species with large eyes and nervous dispositions. They had heard that humans would buy and sell almost anything. This turned out to be true. Within a year, Earth had become a minor trading hub. Ships from a dozen species came and went, exchanging goods and technology and information. Humans welcomed them all with the same casual friendliness that had so confused the Valorians. The galaxy began to change. Species that had been enemies for centuries found themselves sitting together in human restaurants, eating strange Earth food, and listening to stranger Earth music. Trade routes shifted to pass through human space because humans treated everyone equally. Whether they were powerful empires or tiny trading collectives, someone started calling it the human effect. Wherever humans went, barriers came down. Old hatreds softened. New possibilities emerged. It was not that humans actively worked to change things, they simply treated everyone the same way, with curiosity and friendliness, and a complete disregard for old traditions and social hierarchies. The Valorian Empire watched this happen with growing unease. They had built their power on fear and control. Humans offered neither fear nor control. They offered something else entirely. Something the Empire did not have a word for. Grand Emperor Malachar spent his final years writing in his private journal. He had ruled for over 2,000 years. He had seen more than any other being in the Empire, and in the end, it was the humans who troubled him most. We have ruled the galaxy through fear, order, and absolute control, he wrote. For 12,000 years, this was enough. Every species we encountered either submitted or was destroyed. There was no other option. We never imagined there could be another option. Then the humans arrived. They do not fear us. They do not seek to control us. They simply exist, and by existing, they change everything around them. They make friends where there should be enemies. They find hope where there should be despair. They survive where there should only be death. We thought we were the masters of the galaxy. We thought our way was the only way. The humans have proven us wrong without even trying. They rule nothing. And yet the galaxy is already changing to accommodate them. Perhaps that is the most frightening thing of all. We built an empire through power. They are building something else through kindness. And I am no longer certain which will last longer. The Emperor died 3 years after the humans made first contact. His successors continued his policy of watchful distance. The buffer zone around human space remained in place. The warning on the star charts was never removed. But trade continued. Diplomacy continued. The slow, steady spread of human influence continued. Jake Morrison never went back to space. He had seen enough of the galaxy. He had stories that would last a lifetime. He returned to Earth and opened a small bar near the main spaceport. He called it the Drifter, after his old ship. Aliens came to drink there alongside humans. They sat together at the bar and shared stories about distant worlds. Jake served them all with the same easy smile that had once confused an Imperial interrogator. He hung a Valorian ceremonial flag on the wall behind the bar. It was a gift from a guard he had beaten at poker, a reminder of his time on the station orbiting Nexaris Prime. Sometimes visitors asked about it. Jake would tell them the story, and they would laugh or shake their heads in disbelief. He never did learn that he had accidentally started a galactic diplomatic revolution. He never understood that his simple act of being friendly had terrified an empire and changed the course of history. He never realized that his name was spoken with a mixture of awe and confusion in council chambers across the galaxy. To Jake, he had just done what humans always did. He had made friends. He had played cards. He had survived. That was enough. Outside the bar, ships rose and fell against the evening sky. Humanity was spreading out among the stars, carrying their chaos and kindness with them wherever they went. The galaxy would never be the same. And somewhere, in an archive on a distant world, a 12,000-year-old empire was still trying to figure out how a species that wore animal skins to survive ice ages had somehow become the most important development in galactic history. They never did find an answer. Some things, it seemed, were simply human.